What's up, everyone? CR2 here. Hope you're having a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, whenever you're watching. Today, we're bringing you the week, or we're going on week 8, I believe. Dang, season's flying by. But week 8 guide for ARCA at North Wilkesboro. Very fun track, um, especially with 87s. ARCA feels like it's going to be very fun. I already ran some practice laps just to kind of get in tune, get everything together, bring you guys as best a guide I can. So, um, race time about 3:20 something in the afternoon. You can probably expect a track temperature high 90s, low 100s. So this is cooling down a little bit. I think that's just to a little bit of cloud cover. But my personal preference is 8:1, shorter steering ratio, plus 16. It might be a little bit uncomfy in the straights, but very short straights here. And brake bias, I really recommend just leaving it at default 65. Going to be very important to not shred your right rear because that's your drive off of the corners, that's your acceleration. On the flip side, also important not to shred the right front. That's your turn in. So if I were to say it's a little bit more important to preserve the right rear, because as the right front wears, you can just dial back your brake bias a little bit and kind of compensate for that right front wear. But the right rear tire wear, once that starts going, it's really tough to compensate it, especially with this ARCA car that is pretty torquey on throttle. So double check that again. Track slightly cooling off, blah blah blah. And this will be for a 45 lap race. We'll get into that after the qualifying lap. I think your faster lap is going to be the second one. I've tried kind of getting it on the first lap, but it just feels a little bit too squirrely. So just really get in your rhythm. You're going to be using this high line cut down for your exit that offers a nice straight exit to get back on the power. You can try your run up, go up high, cut down low, but it doesn't really make a big difference in my opinion. So anyway, brake at that orange sign. We'll break it down externally. Throttle control on exit, be careful to not hit the wall. Brake at the mellow yellow to your right. Get as low as possible, don't touch that curb. And again, throttle control. That's good for an 18.74 at this track temperature. So again, remember your qualifying time is going to be pretty dependent on track temperature. You get something nice and cool, like say 98, get on out there as soon as possible. Low 100s, probably a good qualifying time would be like a middle 18.8. But anyway, let's get on out, get back here to the external camera. So, like I was saying, you can try your run up a little bit of a straighter exit, just again be careful of your throttle control. If you're kind of mashing it right around here where this transition kind of also crests into downhill, I hope that makes sense. Car has a really big tendency to get loose. Brake as you're coming up on this Hawley Farm sign. You're going to keep it up high, really try to work it down low. Go to in car really quickly. And probably somewhere between this NASCAR Cup Series sign and this Hawley Farm sign is a good visual marker to get back on throttle. But again, just remember throttle control. Be very careful not to hit this outside wall. Very easy to do that. You touch it, 0x, your lap is no good. So, of course, be careful of that. Brake coming up on this yellow, mellow yellow sign. Pretty good braking marker. Get your left sides as close as possible to that curb. Don't touch it because then it kind of pushes the car away and that just ruins your exit. And back on throttle as you kind of approach this sharp corner curb that turns into pit road. Again, careful throttle control. And like coming off turn 2, be careful not to get that wall. I'm in car. Really quickly, and I will shut up. Go. 18.74 at track temp of about high 90s. I'm sure people really properly good with this car can, I'm sure somebody can nab a high 18.6 with the coolest track we could see and really, really solid control on this car. So go back on live, 100, track temp now, and of course settings still all the same. This is all personal preference. The brake bias is going to be the big thing here. Remember, whatever you set it at in garage, you can only go plus or minus 3%. So 65, you can only go as high as 68 in car, or 65, you can only go low as 62% in car. So keep that in mind when you're setting this up for your preference. I want to say pit car speed, pacing speed about 45 miles an hour. I recommend starting in second. I think you're going to want to go with first. I'll go through a couple laps or so, just quiet, let you guys see what I'm doing. There's a couple lines that you can go through as the race runs. So you'll notice that for the first few laps, I'm running an entirely different line from the qualifying line I showed you guys. So early race, you're really going to want to protect that inside line for 1 and 2. Once you get some distance and you're not really under any pressure first position, you'll shift up to that higher line. 3 and 4, you're pretty well locked into get as low as possible to that curve. Don't touch it, of course, because it really upsets the car. For that low line, brake a little bit before that Holly Farm sign. Wait until you're getting a straight line exit going. See how much faster it is with that higher entry cut down exit. You're able to get on the throttle so much earlier versus the low line throughout the whole way of 1 and 2. Barely nabbed that curve there. Just to even demonstrate an extreme low line. Oh yeah, let's adjust that. That's a line I hadn't practiced at all yet. really low line entry, you're going to want to brake a lot earlier, a little more aggressive, because you really want to be clipping that grass almost on exit of turn 2. So you're almost meeting where that grass turns to dirt on that curb. It feels really, really good. One thing I've really enjoyed about the new ARCA cars is they're really, really good on short tracks. Some intermediates, really fun. And if you've seen my Michigan videos for this car, well, you can certainly tell I didn't have a great time. But I really don't want to let that outlier of tracks ruin this car for me. I do enjoy this car on short tracks. Haven't tried it for Watkins Glen yet. And really start to attack the corners a little bit more once you're in a groove. And really feel just how far you can push your braking without getting unstable. Just barely down that curve again. We're going to shift on up to that higher line for 1 and 2. But whether you use that high line or the low line is very dependent on your, not track position, but where cars 4 position are relative to you. If you're not under any pressure from behind, I really recommend that high entry, cut down exit. Keep barely touching that curve in turn 3 and 4. Let it roll your center. Brake at the mellow yellow. Trail brake a little bit, and then just let it roll the center again. Tell this is very much a rhythm sort of thing. Throttle input. And really try to run that high line as close to the wall. But just note that whether high line or low line, you're all going to be converging low for the exit. Just one click down on the brake bias. And remember to adjust that to your comfort throughout the race. But I certainly suggest priority number 1. Save that right rear, or otherwise don't overwork that right rear. Try for that low line again. You can see the time you gain versus the high line, but then lose it all on exit. Try to find something a little different for 3 and 4. All I've really found for 3 and 4 is perhaps just slightly higher of an entry. Try to straighten out your exit. apex of that curve is going to be the way to go. I certainly don't think draft is going to be a factor. Dirty air might be a little bit of a factor, though hardly going to be noticeable. This is about lap 30 of this practice run. So just to take you through a couple do's and don'ts. Let's say you're getting on throttle too early, right about here. You can see you're still pushing out, you gotta lift, and you're gonna lose a ton of time. Look at that. And of course, just kind of really aggressive on the throttle too much. A little bit of a kick out. I actually had to really force that. But definitely beware of getting on throttle too early, because then your nose is just going to shove and you got to lift or you're going to smack the wall. And of course, on throttle too early also applies for 3 and 4. See, still pushing, still pushing. Thing to really note as far as for pit road exit, there's basically no pit road exit. Once you leave the pits, you're on track. So any cars coming out from repairs and whatnot, just definitely be aware of them. There's just nothing you can really expect them to do. They got to get out and get going. So, and if they try to slow down and whatnot, that's all just going to lead to accidents. So really be aware of cars leaving pit road. Different line for 3 and 4. Not going to make a difference when I keep overdriving that. Turn 19.4 is late race. Just a couple laps left here. starting to get boost a little more easily on exit. Let's see what that tire wear is. '88, '89, right front a little bit warmer than I would like, though I was probably just running that a little bit too hard, trying to find just different lines and whatnot. So try to shoot for a 40, 45 lap run if you can, and look for numbers somewhere around this. High 80s on both tires. It's okay if you're wearing the right front a little bit more. I really think you want to keep your right rear happy, because that's your drive off out of these turns, and I think that's really where your speed and being able to either drive through the field or stay up front is going to come from. So, with all of that being said, guys, don't shy away from North Wilkesboro. Challenging short track, but I think probably one of the top 3 best. I don't really have a particular order, but North Wilkesboro is a short track I really enjoyed once I learned it. Totally unique, no other short track like it. Just to sum up, keep your right rear happy, be careful on your brake bias. You have some options as far as your lines for turns 1 and 2, though they all are mostly going to converge low for exit of turn 2. 3 and 4 is pretty locked in stone of get as low as possible to that curb, don't touch it, of course. Excuse me. And dirty air in draft, I think, are going to be very, very minimal. Dirty air might be just a tiny bit, but I don't think it is. This doesn't really feel like an overly pushy sort of setup. This car will pretty well do what you want it to do if you know the limits of what it can do. So, all that being said, guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope this guide is helpful. Please, anything that I didn't think to cover in this guide, feel free to ask below. And heck, even let me know how your races go. And good luck next week. Take care, guys. See you in the next video.